This next part of the Q&A really caught me off guard. I guess be careful for what you ask for. And I don't think I'd ever ask again for the worst, because it's amazing what people came up with. Hope you enjoy it. Some people really let out everything. I never expect them to tell me as much as they did. So, enjoy.
My childhood, the worst was when my mom and dad were moving out, and my grandmother had always been watching me, and they wanted to take me, but I heard my grandmother say, if you take her, I'll put my head in the oven and kill myself. Wow. So I decided to stay with her so she wouldn't do that. And they let me. That was probably the worst. And the best was probably when I went to Hawaii with my mom and dad and my brother Al. Bless you, Al. He's passed. And that's probably was one of my best.
Is that what made him fall in love with Hawaii?
I
know
don't
he
know.
always loved it there.
He just loved
He
Hawaii.
always talked about going back.
I know. And he did, and he died there, so.
Oh, he died where he was happiest. Then.
I know.
The best memories was living in the Virgin Islands, and every Easter, my mother would buy my brothers and I matching bathing suits just to take a picture of us. I lived in the Virgin Islands from age 1 through 10, and for my memory, when I was old enough to remember, she'd buy us matching bathing suits back in the 70s, and we'd all take a picture for it, and that was just really one of the fondest.
And your worst?
It was the day that my dad
spanked
me till I peed because I threw dog poop in my brother's mouth.
Oh, so many choices. Best would be going to Cedar Point, I guess, and worst would be, oh wow, we have a lot of choices. All of them involve my mother. Oh. Well, probably when she tried to throw me down the stairs and kill me. That wasn't too fun.
Wow. Oh. That's intense.
I can tell you the best part was always knowing that my mom was at home. I was one of the fortunate ones that my mom didn't work until I was much older, so she was always at home. I knew that she would be there. The worst part, I'd have to say, is I had a misfortune of having a 4th grade year that needs not to be ever repeated. So my teacher caused me to have that I unfortunately don't remember much of, but unfortunately it existed. So.
Yes, mine is kind of one and the same. The best part of my childhood was we moved around a lot. And the worst part of my childhood was we moved around a lot. I mean, there was times that we moved as high as 6 times a year because my dad worked at a job that we followed wherever the work was at. And you always were the new kid, and I got news for you. Sometimes that's not a good deal.
Most of it was pretty bad. Some of the best things are the vacations I took with my grandma. But as far as worst goes, probably the stuff that happened with my mom's first husband.
So many things. Probably going and boogie boarding a lot. The road trips and stuff used to take. The thing I hated most about childhood, looking back at it now, having to grow up. All the responsibilities that come with it, you know. As a kid, you didn't have to worry about bills.
I know. We're
Probably the best thing was the trips to my grandmother's farm and going fishing. Worst? Oh, I used to get in fights with some of the neighborhood kids. I guess that was bad. Can't think of anything else.
Were you the bully or were they the bully?
They were the bully. But I fought back. Finally, I got the best of one particular kid, and he didn't bother me anymore after that.
I don't have a worst. They're all good.
Okay.
Camping, having fun, spending time with the family.
Yeah, my parents.
Wait, all you said was my parents. I didn't hear him say worst or best on that. I mean, I did. We are asking for both.
Guilty conscience.
I don't believe you said that on camera.
You dare me!
The best and worst of the best was stuff that my dad taught me, and his wisdom, and all of that. The worst was my mother being an overprotective mother. And her and my dad used to get in fights all the time about the way she treated me, but, you know. That was the best and the worst. Gotta say. And yes, it was parents. Go ahead, tell them what a bad mother I am.
What was the best? I pretty much had a good amount of freedom compared to some people I knew.
Yeah, you had to make your own mistakes.
Yeah. Probably the worst thing was probably moving around a lot. That, yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Trust me, what he just gave is mild compared to what I've heard.
Really?
Mild.
The best thing was my family. I mean, we always, even though Dad's retired Navy and he was gone a lot, I still remember always sitting down and eating dinner together. We always ate dinner together. That was a big deal. When he wasn't there, it was just us kids and Mom, but we still ate dinner as a family. The TV was nowhere near us. You know, we were in the dining room. Worst part, there were neighbors that I was molested as a kid, so. Yeah. But that's, you know, I can kind of move on from that. So, yeah.
Worst thing would be that David used to beat me up all the time. And the best thing is that I think that we had a really pretty amazing family, and I loved the things that Dad would do that made things fun, like a road trip when he would say, you know, toot and wave, and he would honk the horn and we'd all wave at total strangers and they'd be like, you know, waving back at us and thinking if they didn't that they would have like insulted somebody that they knew and they had no idea who we were. I loved things like that, playing cemetery, you know, cemetery, you lose all your points. I loved those kinds of things.
Worst thing was starting high school. One of the best things was getting accepted into the School for Creative Performing Arts.
Well, I guess, the worst thing that pops into my head, it's not really bad. It's roller skating down my driveway and falling down and snapping my wrist. I can remember that clearly. That was pretty bad when I broke it. And best? I guess all the times I went up to my Grammys in Maine. Probably be the best.
Well, I guess I could go with I broke my arm, so that was probably one of my worst times as a child. And yeah, probably the best going to Salisbury Beach for 2 weeks every summer.